Listen to your professors, both to what they say and especially to what they don't. Welcome to the Grimmbros Chronicles, where we explore together the mysteries of college life. Hello listeners! Do you remember that town that the director mentioned during the welcoming speech? The one that was next to the GU campus? Well, last weekend I decided to go and take a look at the town of Brokik. I spent the day walking around and getting a feel for the place. And I can say, listeners, I like it. I will say though, as first impressions go, Brokik wasn't so good. I was expecting a college town, lots of bars and pubs, lots of bookstores, maybe some clubs and theaters, and perhaps a deceptively small hobby store with a massive basement. I was expecting posters everywhere, musicians and artists and mad scientists at every corner. I was expecting old people complaining about the youth nowadays, while at the same time asking us to help them with their groceries, their lawn, and their new satellite TV that for some reason will just not work. But this was just a simple small town, at first. After a relaxing stroll from campus, pondering about how to make my recording equipment work outside the dorm, something that still makes me a bit uneasy, I almost ran into a young girl handing out flyers next to a town sign. She looked no older than 16, with that universal look of boredom and disdain that identifies those who already know how life works and are not impressed. She was asking people if they went to Grimmbros and handing out flyers to those who did. I tried to avoid her using the universal social code of not looking at someone while walking, but she saw me and came over right away. She must have realized I was a student because, without asking, she just gave me one of the flyers and then went on her way. I looked at the flyer and it was some sort of raffle for new students. If you solved the riddle on the flyer, you'd win a prize. The riddle was: I speak without a voice. I open without a key. I take you places without a door. I thought about it for a moment, couldn't come up with an answer, put the flyer in my pocket, and just entered the town. There aren't many tall buildings in Brokik, and most of them are grouped in the center of the town. The architecture is pretty small townish, but a lot cleaner and better maintained than what you would see in any typical American small town. You can tell most houses were built a long time ago, but the owners, along with the entire town probably, have taken good care of them. I saw a supermarket called Imemart, or IM, with a funny Sunwatch logo. It wasn't huge, but I saw a constant stream of students coming and going there every time I passed by, so it must be well stocked and affordable. I did notice that there are many clothing stores for the several different styles around town, as you would expect from any modern college town like this. From semi-formal to gothic furry, something for everyone. The sidewalks are wide in general and quite clean overall. I didn't see a lot of locals on the street that day, but the ones I did see seemed pretty nice. No one grunted at me or tried to get me to join their church or sport or tabletop RPG group, so definitely a marked improvement over home. I also saw a couple of different restaurants, pizza places, and only one burger restaurant, Big Head Burgers. It was full of people every time I stopped by, so it must be good, or open 24/7, maybe even both. I'll have to go there some other time, maybe see if they have a website or online menu or private booths. Of course, I wasn't the only student exploring the town. I spotted a few students walking around with terrified expressions on their faces and muttering things like, "Where did this all come from? Where are we?" You know, standard freshman stuff. I also noticed some students wearing nice looking hoodies with the university's logo, which seems to be connected to that weird three-armed statue at the center of campus. The hoodies were quite stylish, like the kind you'd buy to support your favorite institution or podcast. At one point, I even almost ran into Gerard from Intro to Media. I tried to say hello from a distance, but I don't think he heard me. He seemed to be muttering something, and all I got after walking behind him for a few minutes, trying not to get his attention too much, was some tale about a princess from an ancient kingdom in a dystopian future trying to vanquish a dark techno-lich. I didn't recognize the plot, but I admit I have some catching up to do on my streaming services. As soon as I find one for this area in Eastern Europe. I wonder what shows are popular here at Krakoworia. Anyways, after seeing so many restaurants, I got hungry and started looking for a place to eat. There were plenty of open restaurants, but all of them were either severely crowded or a tad expensive. I thought I would have to get a snack from the supermarket until a small sign caught my eye. It was a green owl with antlers with the name Maul. I thought it looked a bit familiar, but I didn't stop to ponder on it. I was quite hungry, listeners. The place looked like a small tavern, and there were only a few people inside. I just took a seat and the waitress showed up immediately. I'll admit I jumped a little when she said hello. I hadn't heard her approaching. She was tall and slim, with a green bob cut and a warm smile, and a pretty high-pitched voice. She showed me the menu and I ordered a cheeseburger. I like to order a simple dish the first time I go to a new place as a way of measuring it. Shortly after, the cheeseburger came and it was really good. After I finished the meal, I went to the bar to pay and somehow found myself talking a little bit with the waitress, Nelep, and the bartender and owner, Melenep, Nelep's mother. Melenep seems to be an older, bulkier and even livelier version of her daughter. They told me a little bit about the town and its history, and they also gave me a few tips about some cool places to visit. I must say, I really like Maul, and I fully recommend it to anyone visiting Brokik. Today's sponsor is Maul Food and Drink. Are you lost, hungry, desperate to find safe port in the storm of your life? Come to Maul, where the lovely staff will ensure you can experience great food and drinks, quick and gentle service, and a calm, relaxing environment to reflect on what's really important in your life, be it friends, family, work, glory and conquest, or winning that argument with your roommate about the origins of the mysterious place that may or may not have abducted you in the middle of the night. Come to Maul, relax, grab a bite, and think for a bit. You will not regret it. Just as I was leaving, Melenep asked me if I was a student. I said yes, and she then asked me if I had solved the riddle from the flyers. I asked if the prize really was that good, To which she just looked at her daughter, who in turn giggled and said, "More than you know." I'll admit, that piqued my journalistic curiosity, so as I continued walking around town, I started trying to solve the riddle in my head. I was trying to come up with an answer when I noticed I was passing by the Brokik Public Library, a sturdy and well-maintained building with an interesting architecture. The building itself looks more like a fortress than any public building I've ever seen, with small dark windows and few but colorful decorations all around, like walls painted with scenes from classic stories, and near the entrance, small statues of wolves, owls, rabbits, and other forest fauna. I've never been much of a library fan, I'm more of an audiobook person myself, listeners, but I do admit they can be relaxing, thanks to not having to listen to people talking about you or having to hide from them. I wonder if I'll need to get a library card here. Anyways, I made a mental note of going there again soon to check some books I'll probably need for my classes, and went on my way. After passing by a bookstore called the Socratic Raccoon, with a rather weird picture of a raccoon in a toga, I also found a hardware store that specializes in electronic components and repairs. To me, this was like finding water in space, listeners. You don't care about how possible it is, but you know it will make your life better, especially if you work with equipment like mine. The man working there and the owner, Mr. Lassette, seemed very, absolutely, extremely happy to find someone interested in digital technology, which I guess is not so common around those parts. He's a big man with a bushy mustache and a lab coat that, judging by the burn marks and tears, must be very tough. He was very excited to talk about digital recording devices, and so was I, for the first 45 minutes. According to him, most of the town folk are not technology oriented, or very talkative, so he does business mostly with the university folks. I eventually mentioned to him how my recording equipment didn't work outside of my dorm. Mr. Lassette just nodded and said he might have some ideas on how to fix it, but that it would take some time. He also started telling me about some inventions of his that were not as impressive or useful as he might think, like a giant-sized toaster machine for pizzas and pies. And that's when I decided I had other things to do that day and week. After 15 minutes of trying to live politely, I pretty much just used what Professor DR taught us and stealthily escaped the store to continue wandering around town. Of course, I left a note apologizing for leaving so abruptly and promised to return soon to continue our talks. I'm not a monster, listeners. After a lot of walking and noticing the sun going down, I ended up in a peculiar store. The sign said Madame Mipara, Healer and Beacon. I thought it must be a pharmacy or a 7-Eleven or something of the like. I was about to continue walking when an old short lady with grey hair in a bun came out and asked me if I could help her with something. She was wearing a purple-grey shawl and seemed very distraught. Before I could say anything, she grabbed my arm and pulled me into the store. The place was very tidy and clean, with the different products neatly organized. I saw rows of flasks of different colors, boxes of stuff like roots and seeds and candy teeth. I even saw some spicy candy displays next to the big freezer full of vegan dishes. The woman asked me to get her a box up in a tall shelf. She said she needed it before her daughter came back. It seemed urgent, so I just got the box and handed it to her, no questions asked. She was really grateful and we chatted a little bit. She told me her name was Helga, the original Madame Mipara. Her daughter ran the business now with her help, and they have lived in Brokik their entire lives. I was about to leave when she gave me a piece of paper as a reward and told me to open it later. I just said thank you, put the piece of paper in my pocket, and decided to return to campus since it was getting dark and I was honestly very tired. I left, came back, and so here I am, listeners, All in all, Brokik is okay. It seems to have all the basics, and most stores have signs showing discounts and special products and services for GU students. As I said before, I didn't see many people in the streets other than students, but the ones I saw didn't look weird or anything. I'd say this was a successful first trip. The food was very good, and I even got a free piece of paper from an old woman. I just realized, listeners, I had completely forgotten about the piece of paper. Let's see, where is it? Let's see. It's a very basic drawing of an open book. Not a great reward, huh? Oh, and the reader flyer. I never managed to figure it out. Speak without voice, open without a key, open, take you places. Wait a second. Huh, I got it! A book! Oh my, it was a book! Ha! That's the answer, I got it! I can get the prize! I can get the prize before tomorrow. Oh no. Listeners, I'm really sorry, but I gotta run. I only have 20 minutes. See you next time. Watch out for, bye. The Grimmbros Chronicles is written and produced by Ignacio Mengo. The voice of Jason Kelch is Ignacio Mengo. The ending theme was made by Matías Silveira. Follow him on Instagram at @LluviaTorrencialWeb. Questions? Comments? Follow us on Twitter at GrimbrosU or on Instagram at drmengus. And remember, group assignments can be anywhere.